Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boutique Workshop Podcast. I'm your host, Ciara, and I cannot wait to get started with you today. So excited that you are all here. I have a 4-part series coming up starting today. We're going to be talking about the recession response that you need in your boutique business. So I know that you've probably been hearing the word recession thrown around in the business circle. Today, we're going to talk about your recession response, how you need to prepare for what is coming in small business. And this will not be a doom and gloom session. This will not be anything that is going to scare you, make you nervous, give you a higher level of stress than you already have. This session and the following 3 sessions, so 4 in total, here on the Boutique Workshop Podcast are meant to prepare you, equip you, and give you bite-sized actionable steps that you can take and implement in your business today. I want to help you build profitability and peace of mind in your business. And I truly believe you can have profitability and peace of mind. We're going to kick it up a notch by starting today, part 1 of our recession response. Let's get started. All right, so we have 4 different sessions, including today's, where we're going to be talking about different ways that you can start to recession-proof your business. I want to tell you this first, though. You should be doing these things all the time. I'm just saying, we are constantly in a state of potential recession as small business owners. It doesn't matter what the economy is doing. We could be having a bustling, booming economy with cash flowing freely and people wanting to spend money. And we could still be finding ourselves with construction in front of our building, with all of our social media getting hacked or taken away, with the loss of, a complete customer list because we had a data breach or our computer just completely failed on us. We could find ourselves in a place where we are sick. Someone in our family needs to be taken care of, and we can't be present in our business. There's mini recessions that happen to small business owners all the time. And so these 4 topics that we're going to be covering over the next 4 sessions shouldn't be something that you're just going to suddenly dig into, get all jazzed up about, work on today. And then if the economy booms, in the next month or so, you push these things under the rug, you forget about them, and you don't, stay true, stay to course, right? These are things that you should be focused on constantly in your small business to make sure that if an economic crisis, whether big or small, comes to your small business, that you are prepared to handle it. And so that's why this shouldn't be scary conversation. It shouldn't be out of the ordinary conversation. It shouldn't be taboo topics. These should be things that small business owners are focused on constantly. So I like to say this, and it's not original to me. I had a phenomenal CPA when I had my boutique business, and he would always tell me, Ciara, businesses with a strong balance sheet can withstand any storm. Ciara, if a small business has a strong balance sheet, they can survive anything. And he wasn't just talking about a recession coming up. He was talking about the loss of employees, the loss of a building, a fire, water damage, construction in front of our building, our social media going away. If you have a strong balance sheet, your small business can withstand the storms that are inevitably going to become coming to knock on your doorstep. And so what we're going to be talking about today is going to be debt management. Then we're going to head into topics 2, 3, and 4 over the coming weeks: cash flow, strategic planning, and accounting, in no particular order. We're going to be talking about things that you can do to help in these areas of your small business. So today we're going to be tackling the idea of debt management. Now, a lot of you have probably seen that I have been hosting debt-free challenges over the last few months. In fact, I have one coming up July 18th. If you have not signed up for it, there will be a link in the show notes here. I want you to sign up. And if you listen to this episode later on in its life cycle, maybe you listen to it after the debt-free challenge was live, I still want you to click on the link, and I still want you to sign up because I'm going to be hosting these monthly for the foreseeable future. So even if you don't get in on this one because Maybe you listen to this episode, you just discovered the Boutique Workshop podcast and you're listening later on. There's probably one in a couple weeks from now. So make sure to click on the link in the show notes and join me for whichever one you happen to be able to jump in on. But if you're able to, in the next few days, join me for the one coming up on July 18th, as of today, when I'm recording this podcast. Please sign up and join me for my debt-free challenge. In that challenge, it's a week-long challenge, and together we work on how to ensure that you can build a debt-free business, that you can create more sales with less stress, that you can really start to realize that profitability and peace of mind that you long for in your business. Now, let's talk about debt management today. And as we think about recession-proofing our businesses, as we think about building a recession response for today and for the future of our small business, I want us to think about our debt. Now, I want to start off by saying debt is not a bad thing. In fact, debt can be a really great way to grow your business. Debt, if managed properly and if the right kind of debt and if you used wisely, can be a great way for you to build cash flow, for you to expand, to scale. In fact, a lot of times when we start out, in a boutique business, when we first launch, we take on debt in order to make a build out plan for our brick and mortar boutique or fund the initial inventory in our online store. So debt isn't necessarily a bad thing, but debt can become cumbersome, burdensome, and overwhelming if we don't understand what the debt is for, how to manage the debt, and what our ultimate goal and plan is for that debt. So if you're a boutique owner and you're listening today and you are like, oh my goodness, Ciara, yes, I am so glad for the first time someone's talking about debt. That is me. Then I want to normalize that for you. I want to tell you that the majority of boutique businesses that I work with, and the vast majority, I'm telling you, they have debt. And a lot of them have a lot of debt. But we don't have to stay a slave to that debt. We don't have to be constantly and consistently burdened, overwhelmed, and just like crushed by the weight of that debt. There's a way to manage the debt. There's a way to grab onto understanding better cash flow and what the debt is doing for us and how to service the debt so that we can move up to the top and find ourselves debt free if that's what we want to be in our businesses. There are ways to do that. And we work through that in the debt free challenge. But today we're going to talk about just a couple things when it's in regards to debt control and a couple things in regards to debt planning that I want you to start to percolate on. I want you to start to think about, to ruminate. I want you to start to really find hope that you can get yourself out of debt if you find yourself in a lot of debt. And that if you do decide to keep some debt in your business, that you are using it as functional debt, that it's cheap debt, if you will, that it's debt that serves you and that you're not serving the debt. It's not happening in the other way, right? We want the debt to be serving us. We don't want to be servants to the debt. Okay, so debt control, some things to think about. First of all, do not take on new debt to just keep going business as usual. I want to tell you, as a Profit certified coach, that Mike, the author of Profit First, talks a lot about how as entrepreneurs, we're very resourceful, right? We're very creative. We can do a lot with a little. But what often happens is as we build our businesses, as we grow and we see more cash coming in and we see more sales and we have more money, we start to lose some of that resourcefulness, right? And so what happens is when our businesses start to decline, when sales start to decline, when we don't see as much business as we were, used to seeing, we often don't cut back on the spending because we just feel like, there's cash there. I'll figure it out. I need this person. I'm going to keep these employees. I got to keep those hours. I want to keep these agencies. I want to keep all these apps. I want to keep all these memberships, right? Because we're so used to all of that cash hiding inefficiency in our business. And so as Mike likes to tell all of us as Profit certified coaches, he mentions that we can be really resourceful as entrepreneurs, but we lose that resourcefulness when we have a lot of sales or we have a lot of cash coming in. And so when we learn to understand what our numbers are saying and where the cash is coming in, where the cash is going out, we become more resourceful again. When we learn to cut our spending, not spend so much on operating expenses, which is a big profit first term that we use a lot over in the boutique workshop, our OPEX or operating expense. When we start to manage that OPEX or manage the operating expense and not just spend money willy-nilly on whatever feels good at the moment, we start to learn to be more resourceful. So when it comes to debt, when we say don't take on new debt to maintain your business as usual, what I'm saying is if you find yourself in a slump of sales, if you're finding yourself where your sales are declining, there's not as much cash coming in, don't take out debt in order to keep funding all of the expenses or the OPEX that you have to keep maintaining your business lifestyle as usual. You need to go back to the drawing board and learn to be resourceful. I don't have as many sales as I used to have, so I can't spend as much as I used to spend, right? And I'm not going to go out and just get debt in order to keep the email subscriber service, to keep all of my memberships, to get myself a coffee every Friday, to, give my employees all the hours that they want just so that I won't lose them and I'll make everybody happy, that I'll just keep buying all of the inventory and going to market 3 times a year. If your sales have declined, if you don't have as much in sales, you need to look at how to become resourceful with the sales and the margin that's coming in instead of taking on new debt to just maintain business as usual. Okay. Point number 1. Point number 2, I want you to really use caution when getting the debt or bringing in debt to cover short-term cash flow dips, if you will. So this would be something like a Shopify loan or a big capital loan, Stripe loan, those big loans that were offered consistently. It just seems like easy, super easy money. And it would feel so good to have a little bit of a bridge to just be able to breathe again, right? Now, again, loans are not necessarily bad. It's how we use them and it's understanding what we are getting ourselves into. That's so important. So I don't say don't do it, but I say use extreme caution when you bring on debt in order to bridge the gap between cash flow. And this is fairly similar to point number 1. In that if you don't have enough sales to go, let's say from paycheck to paycheck, we like to say that as individuals, I live paycheck to paycheck, or I don't live paycheck to paycheck anymore. We can do that often in our business, right? We live sale to sale. So if you're finding that between sales, you need cash to bridge that gap of expenses, don't take on debt to bridge that gap, because that can get very, very dangerous. Instead of looking inward and figuring out why there is a lack of sales, how you could increase your margin instead, how you could go back to the drawing board and work on who your core customer is, how you could get out in front of customers to increase those sales again. If we bring on that debt to bridge that gap, we're not going to actually get to the root of what's really going on. And we're just going to create more of a burden for ourselves and our business by bringing more debt in and then not having a way to service that debt at all. So really use extreme caution when it comes to bringing on debt in order to bridge the gap between different cash flow dips. The third thing when it comes to debt management is to think about renegotiating debt for better terms. You guys can do this. I want to give you encouragement. I want to empower you. You are the leader in your business. You are the captain of your business ship, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. I believe in you. You are the leader of your small business, and you need to step up, to straighten up those shoulders, to put on those high heels, if you will, and to act like the leader of your business. Go to bat for what you need in your business, which means you can negotiate for lower terms when it comes to debt. It doesn't always mean that people are going to say yes, but you can always negotiate. So if you have a line of credit, if you have a small business loan, if you have, any kind of debt, if you have credit card debt, give your debtors a call and ask how you can renegotiate the terms. For instance, when your loan payment is due, if you're finding that your loan payments are coming out on the first every month, and so does rent, and so does insurance, and so does your phone, and it's creating a big cash flow problem, go to your debtors and see if you can have a debt payment come out, if they can readjust it so it comes out on the 5th or it comes out on the 10th. If you have really high interest rate, you can always call and ask, what can I do to renegotiate terms of my loan, the interest rate on this credit card, you can always ask. So I want to empower you as leaders in your business to step up, to stand up straight and tall, and to really fight for what you need for your business. Just because those terms are on paper doesn't mean you can't ask your debtors, your lenders, your vendors, your suppliers for different terms. You can always ask. Okay. And that brings me to point number 4, consolidate or refinance your debt. So this is something else you can do as you look to shore up your business and get a little bit smarter when it comes to thinking about a possible recession around the corner, in our economy, or just, like I said, those natural recessions that always happen in small business. Consolidate or refinance your debt. If you find yourself in a lot of debt, you have multiple credit cards, you have lines of credit, you have small business loans, you have a Shopify loan, you have all of this debt, all this money is tugging at your coat sleeves. It needs to be constantly withdrawn. There's cash going out of your business faster than it's coming in. What could you do to consolidate that? Could you work with your credit card companies to consolidate your debt? Could you take all of your capital loans and consolidate them at a local bank? Maybe they would give you a line of credit or a small business loan where you could consolidate all your debt into one monthly payment with low interest. Get smart with consolidating and refinancing your debt. And then the last point number 4, is to really think about avoiding credit card debt with high interest rates. So I know it's always really easy to open additional credit cards, but what I'd really love to see for you is that you just get smarter about managing your cash. Here's the thing, boutique owner. Here's the thing. You can consolidate your debt. You can do some of these other points that we've been talking about. But if you don't learn to manage your cash, it's like putting a Band-Aid on an open wound. We've got to get to the root of the problem. We have to get down to that infection. We need to put some good old antibiotic on it. We need to heal it up. We need to do PT, physical therapy, right? And like really focus on healing you from the inside out so that you don't find yourself in the same position another month from now, 2 months from now, a year from now. I believe in you. And I know that we can change your business to build profitability and peace of mind into your everyday. And it starts by getting down to the root of what's really going on. So instead of just, I want you to do these practical things, refinance your debt, look at why are your sales down? Who's your customer? Are you focusing on the core customer and renegotiating with vendors and suppliers? I want you to do those practical things, but I really want you to think about what got you into the debt in the first place. That's really where the debt challenge is going to come into play. We're going to talk about your inventory as being the culprit most often to why we got, why we're seeing that you're in debt now. That inventory is most likely the culprit, but how exciting it is to know that inventory is also what's going to get you out of debt, how to manage your cash better, how to understand your inventory once and for all, so that you're no longer fighting with inventory, but you're using inventory as your greatest asset and your greatest tool to create cash, create profitability, create wealth, and ultimately peace of mind. So I really want you to get down to the root of it. So again, to recap, debt management, don't take on new debt just to maintain business as usual. If sales are down, if cash isn't flowing in as it should or as it used to, take a hard look at what's going on. Don't just fix it by taking on debt. Number 2, use a lot of caution when you bring debt on to bridge the gap between cash flow. Again, looking at like what's really going on. How can I fix this problem instead of just, putting a Band-Aid on it. Number 3, renegotiating for better terms, talking to your vendors, your suppliers, your lenders, your small business banks, your lines of credit, wherever you have debt, see if you can renegotiate, consolidate and refinance whenever you can. Avoid just taking on high interest credit card debt and instead look at how do I get to the root of the problem? How did I get here in the first place? Now I know, now I can fix it. I'm going to fix it by understanding my inventory and understanding how cash flows in and out of my business as a retailer. I want you to sign up for the debt-free challenge. It's only $37. You will not regret it. It's a phenomenal week that we're going to spend together digging into the who, what, why, and when of debt. We're going to talk about inventory, cash flow. We're going to help you create a debt-free plan. So how do you get yourself from A to Z? How do you find yourself as a debt-free business? What's your plan to get there? There's accountability. There's weekly and daily coaching within that week-long debt challenge. It's going to be a great time that we spend together really fixing your business and setting you up for success in the coming year. So sign up for the debt-free challenge. The link is in the show notes. And meet me again here next week. We're going to talk about the number 2 thing that we need to do to start recession response proofing our businesses. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me for the Boutique Workshop podcast. I always love hanging out with you guys on a Tuesday. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. And I will see you again here next week. Bye for now.